Boom, 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 boom. Hey, hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, family. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the mental house. I am your host, Khadijah. Well, I got a chance to do another video, so I'm just gonna keep on putting them out there. And thank you for sending me this. Matter of fact, for sending me the request to you, James, uh, to do the story Gabriel Prosser. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I did went and got my trusty little book, and which is taken from Claude Anderson, one of my favorite scholars. Um, and it's taken from the book Dirty Little Secrets about Black history, its heroes, and other troublemakers. Great book, great read. So a lot of you guys know about Nat Turner, and of course there was a movie done uh, by Nate Parker, which received a lot of problems. We won't get into that, but that was the story of Nat Turner and the uprising uh, that lasted for 2 days because they were just got tired of the inhumane treatment and just the chattel slavery that no other human being in the history of the planet has gone through. And it's amazing to me that we have survived what we have survived. I know that as a black African American, because I am an American, and my ancestors, I keep saying, blood, sweat, and tears built this country. We are some of the most resilient people, uh, because this Holocaust didn't last for 6 years. This Holocaust has lasted for over 400 years and still continues. And we have, at this point, continued to survive under any and every circumstance and social engineered circumstance. And now it's a race for your psychological makeup. So when I look at things like the Nat Turner story, and then I look at stuff like the Demark Vesey uprising, it lets me know that our history, just like his story, has been nothing but upper hill battle and fighting for the ability to be free and for justice. And so that's for that we'll never stop. And for that I am so proud of us. I really am. Demark Vesey. In 1822, a few years after the Prosser conspiracy, Demark Vesey, a militant free black, organized a revolt in Charleston, South Carolina. Vesey had purchased his own freedom for $600, which came from $1,500 in lottery winnings. He was refused permission, however, to purchase the freedom of his children. Fueled by that anger that his children, not to mention his race, were mere chattel, Vesey vowed not to accept the self-mocking, acquiescing behavior expected of slaves. He demanded that blacks display racial pride and courage. When he saw Charleston slaves bow, tip their hats, and step into the street gutter to make way for whites, he screamed, "You deserve to be slaves." To express his anger in more productive form, Vesey became a Methodist minister who preached racial solidarity and freedom from his fellow blacks. And freedom to his fellow blacks. Drawing on the text of the Declaration of Independence and the Old Testament in his sermons, he admonished against inequality and urged slaves to resist their masters. So vehement were Vesey's arguments that some of his followers feared that was even their master than God. Vesey planned his uprising for nearly 4 years, patiently working out the details. He was well aware of several past revolts that had gone awry when blacks squealed to the masters. Sound familiar? Anyway, to decrease that possibility, he let it be known that he would deal personally with any slave who had betrayed him. But even with with Vesey's threats, house slaves informed their white masters of Vesey's planned revolt, not once but twice. Vesey never had a chance to carry out his threat of breaking the neck of any slave who informed on him. Based upon the word of the slave informers, white authorities arrested and executed Vesey and 37 of his followers. Another 30 lesser participants were deported to the Caribbean islands for reconditioning. When they recondition you, you don't even worry about it. You're not even coming back. For Vesey, death was probably preferable to living with the knowledge that 2 of his own people personally profited from selling him down the river. For their treachery, the informers received merits and more submissions and monetary rewards. That's what happened with the uprising of Demark Vesey. Lastly, Gabriel Prosser. Now, before I read this story to you, you got to remember some of the slave revolts and some of the slave songs that were sang before. Most of them had hidden messages in them, like "Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God is gonna trouble the water." So when you wade in the water, you don't have to worry about it. You already know. This is a sign for something. Or swing low, sweet chariot. Harriet was coming to take them away. And so a lot of these messages I thought were just beautiful stories of survival. Man, of survival. Plain and simple. Here's one of those slave revolt songs. "Arise, arise, and shake off your chain. Your cause is just, so heaven ordains. To you shall freedom be proclaimed. Raise your arms and bare your breast. Almighty God will do the rest. Blow the clarions, warlike blast. Call every Negro from his task. Wrest the scourge and the buckler's hand, and drive each tyrant from the land. Firm, united let us be, resolved on death or liberty. As a band of patriots join, peace and plenty we shall find." That was the song that they put together when they were about to revolt. And I thought that was real powerful. But lastly, Gabriel Prosser. Demark Vesey, you got him, and now here's Gabriel Prosser. The Gabriel Prosser conspiracy was the nation's most carefully planned insurrections. Inspired by the successful Haitian revolt at the turn of the 19th century, Gabriel Prosser, a 24-year-old rebel slave, sounded the drawing of the new age of rebellion in America. After months of planning, Prosser proposed leading a slave revolt against the city of Richmond, Virginia. And in August 1800, that's what he did. That's what he planned to revolt. The black insurrectionists were instructed on how to gather and used clubs, swords, and other objects as weapons. Prosper's intentions were to divide his rebel force into three columns: one to attack the penitentiary, which was being used as an arsenal, a second to capture the power station, and a third to attack the city itself. If the citizenry refused to surrender, the rebel leader planned to kill all the whites. He would grant an exception to those he felt had been somewhat kind to blacks, primarily the Quakers, the Methodists, and the Frenchmen. The rebels aimed to gather large supplies of guns and powder and capture the state treasury. They calculated that when this had been accomplished, that they would control the resources and hold off the counterattacks for several weeks. That was the plan. They hoped word of the slave revolt would then spread across the country, and that slaves from surrounding territory would arrive and fortify their ranks. With a large enough revolt, they felt whites would have very little choice but to come to terms with them with their demands for an emancipation. On the day of the revolt, however, severe Virginia storm washed out the bridge and roads, making it impossible for the 1,200 plus revolutionaries to get to the gathering point. When only 300 slaves showed up at the designed time, Prosper temporarily postponed the rebellion. And on the morning of August 30th, before Prosper could reschedule the undertaking, he was betrayed. Two Richmond slaves, Tom and Pharaoh, informed their masters about Prosper's plans. Once exposed, Prosper and 35 of his compatriots had little chance to escape. They were quickly surrounded, arrested, and tried. As was to be expected, Prosper and his fellow slaves were found guilty of revolting for freedom and were executed. Long after Prosper was hanged, rumors hinted that between 2,000 and 50,000 slaves were ready to join his uprising. Many slaveholders were puzzled about the size of Prosper's conspiracy and why so many slaves were willing to join. You think? Really? Well, I swear. One theory suggested the Virginia state seal, which depicted the mythological virtues standing over a conquered tyrannus, also motivated by Prosper's support. The image on the seal, when impressed on a dark wax, could be interpreted as a free slave standing in triumph over his master. Believing this state seal had motivated blacks to revolt, many plantation owners hired guards at the Capitol and changed the official seal. By the way, Washington, D.C. was designed by Benjamin Banneker, a black man. Right? Wasn't Crispus Attucks, was Benjamin Banneker. Wow. Interesting. That was interesting. Okay. All right. I gotta go, you guys. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. And I will see you next time, and leave a comment next time in the mental house. Bye-bye.